What's up guys, Engineering Aquariums, coming at you with this much needed update. Everything in the frag tank, all of the Acropora and other SPS are doing amazingly. Same with some Zoas and Hammer that I have on the right. More just to make sure that the tank is doing okay, because I know they'll tell me if anything goes a little awry. So we've got some great growth out of this Pearlberry Acropora in the front. The pulp extension on it is great. I know it is crusting like a true champion. This guy here. All my mollies are swimming around, hopefully eating algae, but in reality they just wait until I blow it off the frag rack with the Maxi Jet and eat it out of the water column. I have a new frag pack that I got from a local person in the back. There's a bunch of cool corals in there, including a Walt Disney, which you can see far in the back middle, right there, as well as a pink caddy way back here, and some other interesting corals like CB Maleficent and Vivid's Rainbow. My bonsai wasn't doing the best for the longest time, and even now some of the frags still aren't doing as great as they could be, but the main chunk down here is starting to show polyps again, and even these frags that have a little bit STN are also showing their green polyps again. My Skittles is not playing the colors that it used to, and I'm not sure what that is from. It's just really browned out. I think it's my lack of nutrient stability. I've been doing my best to keep everything stable, and I've been dosing a little bit of nitrates and phosphates when needed, as well as changing up how much I'm feeding each day. Not every day, but when I do nutrient tests and see that there are major changes that I was not expecting. Most of my acros are encrusting and growing branches and showing new growth tips, and the other ones are kind of just brown and dormant right now. But as long as they're not dead, I guess we can call it a success for such a young and early tank. I put fluconazole in, and I've been doing 10-gallon water changes every week with an additional capsule of fluconazole in the water change water. I'm trying to fight some bryopsis, and unfortunately I also have some Aiptasia popping up in here. I'm waiting for it to get pretty bad while also trying to fight it with a syringe, but once it gets to the point where I can't hit certain spots like underneath the frag rack, I'll probably be putting in a copper band butterfly or a few peppermint shrimp if my wrasses don't eat them as soon as they hit the water. Moving on to the 20-gallon cube. Over here, everything is also looking really good. I took the mushrooms out of their mushroom box, and once they were happily supplanted on a frag plug and either mounted or set them in rock on the rock face or set them on the ground at the very bottom. There is a bit of green slime algae that keeps coming back, but I just easily siphon it out with almost every water change. I also have pretty decent coralline growth on either sides of the tank, and everything is just looking healthy and happy. I've moved some things around, and in general the stuff on the left side is getting a little bit more light now that that mushroom box is out of the way. Mushroom box is also not acting like a algae scrubber anymore, so it's a lot nicer to be able to look in here and see way less algae and less need for a toothbrush or other brush. The clowns are doing well, and there is one saltwater molly down there. I did find the black storm clownfish in the back filter section by the return pump, so fishing him out was fun, especially because that thing is 2.5 inches deep and probably 5 inches wide. So I used a specimen cup, some tweezers, and food, and got the little guy out of there. Unfortunately, there was another molly in there for algae control, and I don't know if she was bullied or just spooked at some point and jumped out of the tank. My water level here is pretty high, and there is no lid, so it's totally reasonable that she just simply jumped. My calc reactor is fully installed and doing great. I have it finally where every hour for 2 minutes it's kicking up all the calc on the bottom and mixing it into the water nicely using this magnetic stirrer that it has. I have one hose going into the calc stirrer that is fed off a dosing pump that uses the addition of the two that are getting pulled out to figure out how much to refill it every day with RO water. at about the same time that the other stuff is getting dosed out. The new water gets entered in through the bottom, which is the heaviest in Kalkwasser solution, and for that reason doesn't really affect dosing when the refill mechanism is on. The two coming out of the top center, one being orange, the other one being clear, go to each of my tanks. It's helped a lot with pH to the point where my pH is too high, and I close my window. I've taken off the CO2 scrubber on my skimmer on my frag tank, and I'm trying to find another way to mitigate it. In fact, it just kicked on. You can kind of see there in the bottom how it's getting a little bit darker. Does that for about 2 minutes, fills the whole thing with the dark mixate, and then throughout the day doses. Most of my dosing is overnight to try to keep the pH up, so when the lights kick on, it can grow and thrive in both tanks. The corals will be really happy that way. But I do dose a little bit during the day just to make sure that I don't have to absolutely spike and tank my pH as soon as the lights turn on. The last thing I've recently done is reorganize my cabinet space so it's a lot easier to work in. I know where everything is, and it's not just a cluttered mess. I have my Trident box for when I need to ship that back in for maintenance. I have my Vibrant, my magnesium, calcium, alkalinity. The calcium and alkalinity I only dose when needed, as well as magnesium. And I also add a little bit to my salt water when I do water changes. I have my Neo Nitro and my Neophos hooked up to my dose, as well as the power bar that it runs this side of the tank. I do have that Inkbird in case I need it, but I found the tolerances to be a little bit higher than what I would like to use. I also have my waste container and my dipping station over here, as well as my pro calibration stuff. I also finally have my frag rack holder that I now use for gluing and mounting new frag plugs, and a toothbrush and razor blade just for general maintenance stuff. It's a nice, easy place to keep it. I can reach it when I'm working in the tank, and stuff can kind of sit there and dry without worrying about corroding anything. That's all for today's video, but before I let you go, I'd like to let you all know that I started a new job at a saltwater aquarium maintenance company, as well as a retail store here in Colorado. So if you're in Colorado, come check out Aquatic Art, open Fridays and Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m.